All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you this evening, where Mr. Mean is joined by a luminary host of player characters, and we are going to play a little What's Old is New Sci-Fi, the new setting. So I've got comments disabled for right now. This is not being videoed live, but I'm going to post it once it's all done. I'm not quite sure how long we're going to play tonight. Tonight is session 1. We'll hopefully do a brief introduction to each character so you guys can get to know. This will be a bi-weekly game, so stay tuned for more. I'm going to go ahead and close out the Discord, but it's going to keep recording, and feel free to watch and make comments down below once this is posted. As always, like and subscribe, and I hope everybody enjoys as much as I'm going to. Peace and hair grease. Stay tuned, and remember, Mr. Mean always says be nice. Here we go. We're starting now. Alrighty, so we've got our Discord up. We've got everybody in the chat. Let me get over here to my player characters and move this over to this screen. Make sure it's working. It's highlighted. Life is good. I want to do a quick, and I'm just going to go in the order that they are here in my character sheet. Mr. Scandal, go ahead and give us a quick, brief description of your character, what you're playing, what species and gender, and what you generally look like. Go.
Yeah, hashtag first. All right, I'm playing a pawn, Facticus, which is a sentient chimpanzee, roughly. So he's a starship engineer, obviously a little on the short side, being a chimp and all. Bit of an engineer, again, as I said, grew up on an asteroid, so was kind of the subject of experimentation. Early life was paid for by the military, and so as a part of that deal, agreed to go ahead and join the military after the experimentation phase was done. As a result of that, the experiments didn't actually take, though. Instead of becoming the whirling monkey of death that they hoped, he just kind of had an uncanny ability to be quickly reactive to situations, but otherwise wasn't really inclined to fight stuff. Better at banging on engines than people. So, and then other than that, typically wears some kind of like power armor, spacesuit type of outfit, and is usually wielding some form of large wrench or other implement of engine reconstruction.
Excellent. What color's your fur? Do you have fur? I assume as a chimp you have fur.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a lightish brown with some little white streaks here and there. Like, military life is stressful.
Gotcha. And there's a picture of your guy. Excellent. Yep. All righty. Do you know how to make a token by chance?
No.
I just
how I feel about Roll20.
Right. Let me go back. I just closed out the window. So what happens when you try to film live and do everything?
Yeah.
Let me do this. Let me put a token stamp. I'll let you work on this so I don't have to do it. And then you can just send me the image. I'll put it down in the chat here in Roll20. Okay. There's a link for you right there. So you can take that image you sent me, and it's pretty simple. I'm pretty sure as a software engineer, you should be able to figure that out as a QA guy. So, alrighty. So that was Scandal. And is that going to be your character's name?
For the sake of sanity, yeah.
Sure. All right. Did Asher join us by chance?
Yes.
All righty. Why don't you do the same thing for us, sir? Go ahead and give an account of what you look like and what your job is with this crew. And we're happy to have you in the game, sir. Go.
Thank you. Okay, so Asher's, as I said before, he's a former lieutenant of the Federation before an accident on a mining asteroid put his body in a coma, so he was uploaded into a computer. Whereas he was no longer fit for traditional service, he joined part of the Office of Naval Intelligence, and he's now on the fringes searching for information on any threats and terrorist activities to the Federation. And however, he's mostly allowed to, because there's little information on the fringes, he's allowed to do navigate as he needs to. So he's joined up part of his crew in order to get more lay of the land, and he is, I would say, while we do have a couple of engineers, he is primarily a data and information technician. So he's very good with the computers as well as plugging himself into the ship while at any point in which we need to conduct ship operations. However, when it comes to he can be quite irritable and sometimes eccentric due to being a human mind piloting a Gundam. Well, no, a spider-like robotic body. And this was really quick. I didn't expect to put all this analog out.
That's okay.
So, yeah, well, he can plug himself into the ship. I'm not treating him like a captain character, just as the computer.
Yeah, you're the guy that runs all the ship diagnostics and computers and everything, right?
Right.
Yes. Which is nothing wrong with that, sir. If I could spell, it's hard for me. Initiative. So what I'm doing here is
Is the spider bot large enough for the monkey to ride it?
Absolutely, and he's about as fast as a horse too.
Oh, nice. So you can't beat that, right? So Scandal, you'll probably be very happy about that, I would think. All right, so that was Asher. Mr. Mason, would you do us the honors of telling us about your character?
Sure, go ahead too. Is it echoing any better?
Yeah, you're still echoey.
Okay, all right. I apologize for that. I have to figure it out. So Mason Hoyt, or he goes by Mace. He's a human. He's about to tip over into his 50s. Been around for a while. Grew up on the streets of Earth, and then moved on to doing petty theft and whatnot. He got to be pretty good as a cat burglar, and got caught one time by police and wound up spending 12 years in prison because the robbery itself and the people he was with, it went bad. Somebody got killed. So he spent some time in prison and then was given the opportunity to get out early. And the whole deal around that was he had to go enlist in the military. So he enlisted in a black ops unit. The whole idea behind it is people send them home.
Gotcha.
He's managed to live through 12 years in prison and did okay. He's very resourceful. He did the same thing there. Pulled about 6 years, then got out and spent the rest of his time drifting, moving from ship to ship, satellite to satellite, planet to planet. Mace's big deal is he hates the Federation. The Federation and nothing but harm. Took him away from his family. They threw him in jail. Then they tried to kill him, and now he's trying to get as far away from him as he possibly can. It's a black market. He knows how to move stuff. He knows what sells, what doesn't sell. He knows how to get things done. But he's not necessarily the nicest person. He's got his own code of honor. At the end of the day, the way Mace looks at it is, live and let live, and do his own thing and stay away from authority. Prove him every time he's turned around.
Sounds good. And you're the kind of the grizzled veteran of the group, correct?
Indeed.
All right. Yeah. And as for everyone watching on YouTube or at a later date, as the characters describe themselves, I'm bringing up the image of them. So that should hopefully help out a little bit. So next we have Kyle.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So Kyle, what's the deal? Well, he's actually a vanilla human. He's got no extra tentacles or funny fur, or anything like that. Kyle's background is he grew up like a street urchin because he was an orphan. So he was used to living on his own, doing what was necessary to survive, while trying to maintain a somewhat decent code of ethics, which may have suffered a slight, might be tarnished here or there. Anyway, once he got off his home world, he kind kind of worked his way up and started taking odd jobs. Oddly enough, doing bounty hunting. Just because he saw kind of his sense of justice. He saw a lot of folks that weren't treated right, so he figured, okay, I'll do what I can to bring these guys in, figuring he was some kind of space hero. Obviously, he read too many of those or watched too many of those fictional holovids when he was a kid. So after doing that for a while, he gradually learned how the universe really was, got a bit disillusioned, so he abandoned that career. Because during one of his jobs, turned out that instead of hunting down someone who was really guilty, turned out that they were a bunch of innocents. However, because he basically opted to not complete the job, or rather kind of obfuscated the details of that job, they in turn got him connected into the folks that could help him literally expand his mind without chemicals. And so he trained as a battle site so he could essentially basically take out people using the power of his mind. And that he was relatively successful with that for a while, but he just got tired of fighting. And his sense of internal justice was kind of like, well, I'm starting to feel like I'm kind of a mercenary. So he's like, you know what, maybe I should take my talents and try to do the right thing for a while. So he ended up becoming a Psi Cop, basically putting his abilities to work for the law, which again worked pretty well until he arrested the wrong person. Or rather, he arrested the right person who was actually guilty but had certain connections. As a result, he had to retire early, I guess would be the appropriate term. Retire early with distinction. And nowadays, he kind of looks over his shoulder because apparently he's offended person or persons that apparently just really hold a grudge. And that's pretty much it looks-wise. He's a little bit above average height for a human. He's got kind of like a dirty... There's kind of a dirty, shaggy mix of shoulder length. He's very fond of long coats, trench coats, something he picked up from his time as a cop. He just figured it was cool and just never gave up the habit. And kind of looks a little bit jaded behind the eyes, even though he's still relatively young. But part of him, he's at the point where, well, he's not really sure what's right or wrong these days. So he's focusing more on staying alive without hopefully screwing anybody else over in the process. He is, of course, still does have a sense of camaraderie with his current group, but we'll see whether that is wise of him or naive. Anyway, that's all I've got.
Cool. All right. Well, as we spoke in character creation, it is the Federation of Universal Planets, and all of the core races in the What's Old is New book are part of this federation, some begrudgingly, others wholeheartedly. The Greys are in it for the exploration and to further, their goals, whatever they are. A lot of the aliens, keep to themselves or do their thing, but they all have a seat on the council. The main council is centered on Earth and on the moon. The Earth is pretty polluted. We spoke a little bit about this in character creation and everything that we did 2 weeks ago. The Venetians are obviously probably some of the most technically advanced, but the Boreans are real close behind them. The Boreans are your tinkers. They're also really good bartenders. Aside from races, and it's not even a true race, but like uplifted animals like Scandal, those are kind of a cut above. Humans are the default race in the galaxy. There are other aliens that are not part of the Federation, and so therefore they do not enjoy the benefits of the Federation, but they also are free to do as they will. Our merry band of adventurers is all the way out on a planet past Pluto called Sigma Alpha 6. And I recommend all the players make a note of that because I'm old and will forget, as Craig can well attest to you. You guys, this is a backwater planet. There is no Federation police force to speak of. meaning that it's not lawless. It is very much a lot of people are walking around with weapons. This is the main port city called Omega on your screen. So if you're logged into Roll20, which hopefully you all are, Omega is where all the money is. And this is where all the rich people live. You guys are nowhere near Omega. You are in the slums past those mountains that you see in the background. There is a smaller spaceport out there, and of course, that is where a lot of smuggling, a lot of behind the scenes deals take place. The corporations pretty much run the Federation. I mean, the governments are there, but they really answer to the corporations. It's all about the money. He who has the money makes the rules, aka the golden rule. Some people say the Venetians are pulling strings. There's a lot of, when you get this far out, the further you get away from Earth and the more jump holes you go through, the larger the alien antagonism becomes. But then again, there's less protection from the Federation. So you may say how you hate, Venetians. Don't be surprised if it gets shanked in the kidney in an alleyway by a Venetian. Not to say that the Venetians would do that, because they kind of feel that they're above that. But you start getting in an Ogron's face, or even what's the one I'm looking at? The Spartans, which basically, for lack of a better word, they're Klingons. You get in their face, and you're probably going to get beat down. And there's probably not going to be anybody that's going to come protect you. There is a Federation police force here. It's a small branch office, and they are overworked, underpaid, and so the effect of saying that they survive on bribes and goodwill is probably saying a lot. Let's see. What was it? Yeah, Mace, you were the former cop, correct?
Actually, I'm the former cop.
Oh, okay. That's character name. Is that Kirby?
Kirby is not a former cop, no.
Who's my former cop? Speak up.
Kyle was a side cop, if you need it.
Yeah, the side cop. Kyle, you ETS'd out here on Sigma Alpha 6. Basically, it was to get you as far away from core Earth as possible. So you have met up with the rest of these guys, Scandal, Asher, Mason, Selen, Kirby, and you guys you're kind of in that spot where you're looking for work. You all have some contacts, you all have some skills. The thing you don't have is a ship, and you're finding it hard to get one. Even out here, the prices for ships are pretty high. I mean, we're talking mega credits, and so it's not easy to come by a ship. You could stoop to nefarious means, but that again involves a whole lot of other problems. So some of you being former law enforcement and or working for the government in various forms, like Scandal being a created creature, so to speak, getting on the wrong side of the government in that aspect is probably not a good thing. So you guys are kind of staying, all of you have whatever the money was that you created when we made your characters. Whatever you have left is what you have left. You're staying at a hotel just called Oblivion. And it is, let's just say if you've ever been in a hotel in Tijuana, those hotels in Tijuana make, this place makes those hotels look like, a 5-star hotel.
That's not really the most resounding endorsement of a place to stay.
Yeah, exactly. But it's what you all can afford.
I was going to say, yeah, but I don't exactly have millions of credits in my name, more like about 60.
Yeah, right.
But, with some judicious saving, compound interest in about, 100 years?
Yeah.
I could probably buy, the airlock to a starship? Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, if you're lucky and you find one on sale, on the Galactic eBay market. you know.
Right.
But
Okay, so looking for work is pretty much what we're doing.
yeah, there are a number of, and technology is pretty advanced. One of the big things is VR. Everybody has a set of trodes, whether they're implanted or they're just a pair of cyber eyes, or I'm sorry, sunglass type deal. Everybody has something of that kind. Some people opt to go for like the Vambrace computer deck, which is basically a little interface, and it allows you. It constantly goes off unless you mute it because there's all these ads being bombarded to your senses. And out here, this far away from any kind of Galactic Federation, patrols, it's mostly like hookers and drugs and that kind of thing. And so if you want that kind of stuff, you'll get more than you can ever find. Unfortunately, most of you are pretty dead broke or close to it. So that's one of the things. So communication and stuff like that, you don't have to worry about buying a cell phone. It's kind of inherent in that VR rig that you have. So you can have person-to-person communication and that kind of thing. But it's like a cellular phone built in, whether it be a pair of sunglasses or a Vambrace or maybe built into like a helmet. It's your choice. Whatever affectation you decide to have it in, that's up to you. You can sub-vocalize into it, so instead of like in today's society where everyone has a jabber on their head and they're walking around talking to themselves, you can do it mentally or sub-voc it, and it picks up and understand, and so the technology is that far advanced. Cybernetics are a common thing. Skill chips are very common. If you don't know how to do piloting, you can buy a skill chip at a certain rank and you can have it inserted in your cortex. And in a couple of days with some basic recovery in a decent hospital, you would be able to fly a ship basically and then your own skills would pick up after a certain amount of time. And then you can have that skill reslotted. You can pay for more skill slots and so on and so forth. So I just want everybody to have an understanding that technology is pretty high up there. We do have warp travel, wormholes. Some of the bigger Federation warships have teleportation. There's not very many civilian ships that have any kind of cloaking and or like transporter technology. You can't go from the planet to the surface by flipping a switch. You take a shuttle like most people do. Now, that to be said, some people that have been in the military may have seen that kind of technology, but most likely none of you have ever used it or been expressly exposed to it. So you're in this lovely hotel/bar called Oblivion. Is anybody wanting to do anything specific, or are you all gathered together as a group perusing the job boards, which, it's just like maybe if you've seen Minority Report, you can bring up a virtual screen that only you can see and you can scroll through it, or, however you choose to interface. It's up to you for the most part, but there's could be on the lens of your sunglasses or your glasses if you have to wear glasses, or goggles, or whatever. However you choose to interface with the technology is up to you. So we'll start. We'll just kind of go down the list here, and we'll start with Scandal. What are you doing in the Oblivion?
Put my goggles down over my eyes, plug in, start looking for some kind of work, maybe a ship that needs a few crew members, particular, of course, some engineers, jacking into their local network and scrolling through some of the higher paying jobs.
Okay. So go ahead, and just so everybody who's watching and for everyone playing, because I don't think anybody here has played this game yet. And if you have, great. I haven't. I've GM'd many, many games. So go ahead and give me a computer's skill roll. And it's on your character sheet. So and you just click that big blue dot.
Yeah. Any modifiers?
I will give you, and modifiers in this game are in the form of dice. So because it's an open network, I will give you a +1 d6. So you can click that, fill it in, and you got a whopping 10. So that's actually pretty good. That's not a horrible roll. I'm going to look for my cheat sheet here and see. I can find everything I want, but the one thing I want at the time that I want it. Because isn't that how it works?
Naturally.
Of course, right? I'm looking for the target numbers, the default target numbers.
Now that's just 2 dice from my skill. Do you add your intelligence? Or
No, it should already be factored in. So however many picks you have in computers, plus whatever your intelligence, I'm looking at your character sheet right now, goes off your intuition or logic. You have a 3d6 for your logic. And then, yeah, there you go. Yeah, for everybody, you should, if you're looking at the skills on your character sheet, and in the upper left-hand corner by your character's name, there's a little icon right there. If you click that, it will allow you to pop your character sheet out. I recommend everybody do that so that you can keep your character sheet up and running. So there you go. Now, you normally have a 5d6 limit on your dice pool because you're rank 5 characters. That's the default starting level. So you can never, when you're creating your base die pool, your max is 5d6. Now, that being said, things like luck, situational modifiers, and external factors can give you a bonus. So the 1d6 bonus I just gave you does count. But nice. When you're putting your dice pool together before modifiers, external modifiers, the maximum you can roll is 5d6. So it's very important to ask if there are any modifiers because you may get if I say, yeah, it's a -2, you subtract 2d6, and that's where you might go, oh crap, I really need to make this roll, and you might want to spend some luck. Luck is a very important stat. Scandal's character has a 2d6 in luck, so that means he has 2d6s that he can spend on dice rolls. You can spend that for combat, for skill checks, for initiative, pretty much whatever you want. They do refresh every 24 hours in game time, or once per day you can meditate by taking 5 to 10 minutes out and just centering yourself and saying, I want to get my shit back together, and you get your full luck pool back. So luck is very important in the game, but you can get by with as little because you get that chance to refresh. So with Craig rolling a whopping 25, you have found literally a gazillion options for jobs, especially you're looking more along the lines of like engineering jobs, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you find a lot. The only downside to about 98% of them is they're either looking for a specific race or they're looking for someone that has, 20 years of experience and knows, fusion reactors and warp tunnel drives and, all this stuff that you don't necessarily, have right now. So you're a little
discriminatory practice.
It pretty much is. And on a couple of them, you even see down at the bottom it says, simians need not apply. That
I'm not a simian, that douchebag, so he's in your bag of
right. Well, free lactose or whatever it is, your free milk, whatever the hell you're calling yourself. There you see some of those notes. I mean, and it's a little disheartening, but it's nothing that you're not accustomed to because being who and what you are, it's kind of a common thing for you. It's just one of those things. So we will come back to you. Asher, I'm on your character sheet. Did you fill in your skills?
I believe we did everything we did within session 0.
Okay, so you want to make sure you go on to the basic part of the character sheet there, and you see where your first skill is computers, and then you have a blank.
Yes.
You want to make sure you drop that down, and computers, I think, falls under logic. Yeah, there you go. You're on it. And
I'll take care of that now.
Yeah, everybody should go ahead and do that while we're listening, just so that way you get your full dice pool. Just remember, if it equates to larger, the sheet doesn't do it for you automatically, so you'll have to adjust it on your own. And when you go to make a die roll, you'll see a little box pops up and it says modifiers. So if your base skill is rolling you at a 6d6 or a 7d6, you're going to need to subtract down to where you're rolling a max of 5d6, and then make sure that I let you know if there's going to be any positive modifiers. But that's only if your dice pool will go over 5d6. Does that make sense to everyone?
But the dice over 5, do those count as automatic success?
If you get 3 6s in a row, 3 sixes out of your dice pool roll sixes, then that counts as a critical. There is no buying of automatic successes in the game. So what you can do is when you get into combat, you can change. So say you figure out your final dice pool and it's 8d6. Well, remember, you can only roll 5d6, but you can say, hey, John, I'm going to spend 3 of those dice to go to damage, because damage is not capped by your dice level or your grade, so to speak. So you can say, hey, I've got a dice pool of 8d6. I'm using this pistol that only does 2d6, and this guy I'm shooting has a soak of 8. Well, right there you can see the numbers aren't necessarily in your favor. But now instead of rolling 2d6, you're going to roll 5d6 because you took those 3 dice and you added them to damage. So probably a good idea for either. Say again?
This is selling here. Let me ask you a direct question. On the character sheet, the Roll20 character sheet, under the skills list, the gray box that you can adjust up and down, what number would be in there?
I believe that is coming from your skill pick.
So, if you have one skill level in there, the gray box would say 1.
Correct.
And you manually add the psionics?
Correct. By the drop-down box.
You manually add that.
Right.
With the drop-down box immediately to the left of the gray box.
Right. Okay.
Telepathy was going off of logic or psionics? Psionics, yeah. So let's see here. I'm going to roll, Selen, I'm going to roll your telepathy because you have a psionic score of 4d6. So you should be...
Should be a 5d6, right? Because I have 1 skill level.
Right, and it only rolled 4. It says proficient 1. Pool limit is 5, which is solid. But it rolled it rolled 5 dice.
Did it?
Yes, sir. I'm looking at them right here on the screen. And you guys can test that yourselves. I mean, tonight's kind of a learning system to get with. But like I said, did everyone catch that part about on your character sheet? There's a little pop-out section.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So hopefully the character sheet does the math for us, the basic math. Combat and stuff, it's not so much going to do, just because there's no dedicated rule system for Roll20 for what's old is new. So we're going to have to do a little bit of math on ourselves. And then I actually liked the 3D dice at first. I didn't think I was going to like it. Also, for anybody that's like, God, these dice are cluttering up the screen, I can't see what I'm doing. If you just click once on any one of the dice, it will make them all go away. So if you've got dice on your screen, and then when the next person rolls, their dice will go away, and then your dice will show up. And again, it'll be in the chat there on the right-hand side, but you can left-click on the dice and make them go bye-bye. So
okay, I'm rolling too many dice, so I must have put this in wrong.
Okay.
So
try and adjust it
3
as
dice
you.
for psionics. I put 1 die in telepathy, but when I roll it, it's rolling 5 dice. So I have an extra that I need to take out.
Okay, so I would just adjust accordingly. Maybe hit the drop down and reduce it by 1 and see what it does.
Okay, I'll drop it to 0. Okay, and we'll click off the die and we'll try it again.
And like I said, it's not perfect because there isn't a dedicated rule set for.
Now it's rolling 3 dice.
Right.
Oh.
So somewhere you've got some sort of, maybe look at your attributes again, make sure they're correct. Look at the skill.
Psi is 8. That's 3 dice.
Uh-huh.
And I turn the skill from 1 to 0.
So 3 dice. You have a 3 in psi.
Yep.
All right. So that's a 3d6 for psionics, and you took the skill to 0, and it only rolled 3d6. So that should be correct. Yes.
Yeah, except it was rolling 5 dice before. So.
All right. So put the 1 back in there, and let's see what happens.
And maybe it was just a momentary thing. I don't know.
Could be.
I put the 1 back in there from 0. Try it again. Okay.
Yeah.
That was weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. You got a bonus because you're awesome. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And remember, you can always spend those luck dice as well, up to your maximum luck. you can spend those. So if it's a do or die moment and you need to spend them all and you have them, spend them. I mean, they do not affect your maximum die roll. It's
And that
only
will let you go over the cap too, right?
it will, yeah. Normally the cap is 5d6, but modifiers, combat modifiers, situational modifiers, like such as being on high ground, taking an action to aim, that kind of thing, can add dice to it. But the nice part is because the soak values and the armor is pretty sci-fi in this game, the damage from weapons is kind of low. So what they recommend is if you go over that die cap, or say the guy's going to be relatively easy to hit, but he's somewhat of a tank, you may want to take some of those to hit dice and add them to the damage. And that's just to say that you're aiming at a good spot, or you're charging the weapon or something. It's just a mechanic to make the game a little more balanced. There's no rhyme or reason. No role-playing game is perfect. They all break down at some point somewhere along the mathematical path. This is how they deal with it, because you're usually on the average doing, especially new characters. I don't think anybody has a weapon that does more than 2d6, do they?
Well, telepathy does 3 dice. However, I believe it's non-lethal. So
right, you're just doing a brain freeze, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah. Go night night. Yeah. In which case, and your psychic powers go against their mental defense, so it's a little bit different, but it's the same concept. It's right. Physical versus physical defense, mental versus mental defense. So yeah. So you're squared away there. So let me clear those dice. So we got Scanner, Asher. What are you doing?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say right now. I'll probably be carousing the interweb right now, looking for jobs as well, and just providing a general assistance to the rest of the party. So I want to hope I can navigate through a lot more information and data faster than they can.
I would think so, since you're pretty much a computer. So go ahead and give me a computers roll. And again, you get the +1. So when you click on computers, another window is going to pop up. You're going to put a 1 in there. So you're going to be rolling 6d6. Did you roll?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so a 24. Wow, smoking it. Yeah. So again, same thing. You're finding work. You're finding a couple things. Does everybody understand the basic concept of rolling dice?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we're not going to keep doing that. We're going to say, I believe Asher got the high. Who got the highest roll? The monkey beat the computer by 1.
To be fair, I have a human mind. It's not.
True.
So many
True.
tabs I can keep open.
Yeah, but there's only so many tabs. Yeah, you got to clear that browsing history once in a while. So Scandal, there is a post that you run across that seems promising, and it says it's basically discrete team needed for light wet work. That's all it says.
Uh-huh.
With a contact button, basically. No name, no information whatsoever. Other than
I scroll past it.
Of course,
monkey smells bad.
Smells bad. You keep looking, and unfortunately, that's about the only one that keeps popping up, and that's basically the GM hitting you over the head saying, "God damn it, read it."
It's the only one that doesn't have racist.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they're just looking for some bodies to do some work.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for wet work people, beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
Yeah, and it has 3 credit symbols next to it, meaning that it's high pay.
Oh, big money.
Big money. Big money.
I do have a quick question. What type of website is this? This isn't a Craigslist style ad, is it?
Probably,
yeah. I mean, it's the problem with the future, and with everybody having these VR trodes or whatever you want to call them, is there is such a wealth of information being bombarded at you at any given time. that a lot of people can't filter it out. And so, and it's ever changing. Like that list that you guys are all looking at has changed in the last 60 seconds probably 300 times. I mean, the information is just literally like zip, 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 zip. But as a culture and as a society, you've learned to assimilate a lot of information in a very short period of time. It's like, you give an 80-year-old person a modern cell phone and watch them just fumble with it, right? But give it to a 12-year-old kid and watch them run circles, right? It's that, we adapt as a race to our technology. And I'd have to assume that it's going to continue, So for lack of a better word, yeah, the information is just coming at you fast and furious. But several of you find that same posting and you're all like, this could be lucrative. Let's see. I need to go there. And do you bring it to the other guy's attention? I would imagine at least 2 or 3 of you actually find it, Class, anyone?
It's sketchy.
Yeah, it's definitely sketchy. But again,
Staring at each other, thinking about like, oh, I see this possibility. I could do this, but I don't know what they'll think of me if I suggest it. I don't want to be the first one to suggest it. Maybe one of them will bring it up, and we're all looking at each other with that same look. Like, would somebody else please say this?
Well, the cop didn't find any work. So
the cop didn't find any work. Nice.
So what would you like to say in on a recorded line and on this video camera? Please go ahead. You can accept the what?
Pretty much, yeah. That's kind of how it goes.
I'll go ahead and be the one to bite the bullet. So Asher will open his mouth and project just a screen on the wall, just start pointing at it with one of his for lack of a better term, tendrils, and saying, "Look, I found opportunity."
There you go.
That's the potential upside.
Yeah, I'm not really keen on wet work, guys, but I suppose if it's a legit bounty hunting contract and we can be sure it's not, shall we say, less than reputable, I could probably go down for that.
You did, and when you say that, everyone kind of gets a chuckle because then you realize, while you have your own morals and ethics and code of honor that you live by, you do realize where you are. I mean, you're in a place where, little old ladies are carrying hand cannons in their purse, so it's one of those, you could be shanked at any moment. It is literally the shittiest part of town. There's been, in the short time that you guys have been sitting here, there's been 5 or 6, stabbings, beat downs, people thrown through a window. In fact, the bar, and this is the bar part of the hotel, there are no windows. There are these screens that project images that look like the outside, but literally when someone gets thrown through them, it's just a light array. And it fizzes for a second and then comes right back to normal. Because long ago they realized if we keep paying for windows, we will go out of business.
Unless you carbonates have a better idea, you're going to starve to death.
Yeah,
like I said, I'll look into the gig, but I may have to opt out, but we'll see.
So I'm gonna pick on Scandal just because I've known him for years, and he's just a lucky guy that way. And I'm gonna say he clicks the contact button.
No, damn it, fumble fingers.
Yeah, son of a.
I don't know what made me do it.
Yeah, I didn't mean
that before.
I didn't mean to do that.
Divine intervention, I swear.
So just so you know, so we're at the hotel bar, right? I'm understanding that right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So Mace is going to take his cheap bourbon, his cheap cigar. He's going to walk away from the group while they do that because in Mace's mind, he's like, okay, this is genius. These guys have just announced to everybody else in the bar that, hey, we're looking at taking a wet work job. So if something goes south, they'll wonder, oh, those guys are talking about it. So, he's like, I'm just removing.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I need to point out that in each little booth, there is a mushroom. And the mushroom is called the mushroom. But what happens is it is basically a white noise generator. So any conversation, any visuals that you pull up on your VR trodes, no one from outside of that bubble can see. And that's very common. In
So it's
any
a cone of silence.
yeah, pretty much. It is the obligatory D&D cone of silence. People can see, when they're on the outside looking in, all they see is a fuzzy blur, like looking through opaque glass. Now, and you can anybody can just wave their hand over it and it turns it off for a second. And so you could like flag down a waitress. This place isn't classy enough to have a waitress, but they do have it's somewhat broken, but there is a little terminal on the table where you can say food and you push a button and whatever today's special is, that's what you get brought. There is no, I'd like a medium rare steak. No, you push food, they bring you out some glop. You say drink, they bring you out a beer. It's stale, it's cold for the most part, and it's not very tasty, but it is what passes for beer.
I never knew being polar could be so complex.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sorry I should have told you that beforehand. So you do have some privacy. You can discuss and talk amongst yourselves without other people listening in. Now, of course, with any advanced technological society, there are always ways to get around those things. So
we're poor. Who wants to listen in on us?
Yeah. So let me go to this page.
I'm in the water.
And drag everybody to that. Hopefully your page will refresh and everybody can see the spaceships.
Yes.
And police cars. Well, when Scandal pushes that button, you see this guy right here. If anybody at any time within Roll20 wants to bring somebody else's attention to something on the screen that we're all on, you can just left click and hold the button and it will ping, as someone in red just did. And everybody should be assigned a color down there on your names, which it looks like everybody is. So cool. You see this guy, and he's obviously a police officer.
Are we talking like I see him in my trodes, or he walks up to the booth?
You see him in your trodes because you pushed the contact button, and you can see he's in the process of putting, for lack of a better word, a headset with a boom mic on. And
okay, so it's a live connection.
It is a live connection, and he's like,
I hang the fuck up.
It rings right back.
Guys, it was a trap. I accidentally pressed the button. I am so sorry. They're probably going to kill us all.
You've already traced the call, so hanging up is going to
that's why we should use.
Your phone starts ringing again. Your communicator.
Take my goggles off and chuck them.
Here. Let me take this. Yeah. So Kirby will answer the phone.
All right, and you see it's and there's like, for lack of a better word, caller ID, and it says Lieutenant Anawa, and he's obviously looks to be of Asian descent, short, spiky black hair, pretty well built, and he's sitting in what appears to be an office, but all of the images behind him are opaque, kind of like what anybody looking into your booth would see. So obviously he has a privacy filter turned on as well, and all you see is him. And he kind of looks around for a second, and he's like, this is Lieutenant Awa. You're replying to the post that I posted on the boards?
Yeah, it was an advertisement to help some people go swimming.
He smiles, and there's just a bit of a twinkle in his eye, and he goes, yes, I need some help to help people swim. Would you be available for this? The pay is quite good, and the benefits are amazing.
Well, I guess it all depends on the details, Ossifer.
Anawa will be fine. I see, and you hear like this clicking on some sort of metallic surface, and he says, I see you're at the Oblivion. I will be there in 10 minutes. You can't miss me. Click, and it hangs up.
I'll keep talking to him. No, I'm not.
Yeah, so I like long walks in the ocean, and I'm a Sagittarius.
It's that good with my pistols.
Yeah. So, do you tell these guys what's going on?
Yeah, I'll tell him that it looks like this is a dirty cop who wants to hire us to do something, and he can't do it from the precinct, so he's on his way down here to do this. I don't know if he saw anybody else. He just saw me. Oh, I'm young. I'm good looking. I can handle them. One of them's a couple of y'all spread out over the bar and be back up.
Yeah, so you don't have to say that but once. So Mace gets the hell up and starts walking away because he does not want to wind back up in prison.
All right, so
Yeah,
though,
Kyle will basically go to a different part of the bar.
okay,
He wants to be able to observe what's going on. Back to a corner and facing the door.
I'll go with Kyle.
all right. So who's staying at the booth?
Everyone's going to abandon Kirby. God.
Selin will stay.
Okay. So who's in the booth right now?
Just Kirby and Selin, I guess.
Okay. So literally about 10 minutes later, you see the doors open. If you've got your privacies, you can see out, nobody can see in. So you see that there's no door. Again, it's that holographic like display. So you see this gentleman. He's about 5'6", 5'7", pretty well built. He's in police tactical armor, just like what you see on the image there. His weapon, of course, is holstered. He doesn't have it out. And he looks around. You could see, I mean, you don't even have to make a perception check. 98% of every patron in this bar decides to suddenly look somewhere else and look as small as they can possibly look. This guy, for whatever reason, I mean, this is a room full of roughnecks, probably a couple of killers, and probably some people who shanked their own grandmother for 5 cents. Everybody's looking away. He looks around. He sees, obviously, like his eyes make direct contact with yours, and then he taps a little stud on the side of his temple. He taps it, and he says, "Coming in," and you all hear it. It's coming from the mushroom. Obviously, the police have some sort of way to override, which makes sense. And he literally makes a straight beeline to your booth, and he steps into the cone of silence, for lack of a better word. And he looks at you, and he looks and he goes, "Are you Kyle?"
I'm Kirby.
Kirby, I'm sorry. He says Kirby, and then he looks over and he sees the gray, and he nods. And then he sits. He points to the chair. May I?
Absolutely. Please sit down.
Yeah. So he sits down.
Are you on duty or are you drinking?
I'm drinking. He kind of chuckles when you say on duty. Yeah. So a second later, a little service robot comes over and sends him a beer and doesn't ask for payment, just turns around and leaves. It's being charged to your tab.
Because, cops have that ability.
Exactly. And he says, "Thank you for answering the post. I've had a number of people inquire, but no one wants to take the job. It's very simple. Is this your crew, or are there more?"
There are more, but they're off doing errands right now.
Understand. He kind of looks around, kind of makes eye contact with a few of you, and then just kind of smiles. And he looks back at you, Kirby.
We can't see him because he's in the cone of silence.
Exactly. Kirby, he looks at you and he says, "It's very simple. I have a wealthy patron whose son was kidnapped. He wants his son back. He's willing to pay top credits. I don't have the resources to do it. People are going to get hurt. I need the kid back alive. What you do to the person who has the kid, I don't care. I don't want to know. It can't be traced back to me. Are we understood?"
So far, I understand.
All right. The job pays 15,000 credits. If you bring back proof of death of the target, the shall we say person of interest, it goes up to 30,000 credits. And the kid has to be returned unharmed.
So one of my abilities as a gray is plus 1d6 to discern lies and deception.
Okay, perfect. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and make a psionics test versus his mental defense. His mental defense is 12.
All right.
So basically your target number is 13. Well, 12 or 13. You have to meet or exceed.
So I did. I rolled it. Did it work?
Let's see here. There you go. Yeah. Why are you rolling d8s?
Why did it roll a d8? Hang on. I don't know why it rolled a d8.
Should be d6s.
No, that's what I thought I picked. D6.
And on your character sheet, you can turn that into a skill roll too. There you go. Now, I'm gonna ask you to re-roll because we got to get into the habit of this. Your maximum die pool is 5. Do you want to add any luck? Do you really? I mean, obviously you have pretty good odds of beating a 12, but it's one of those things we need to wait before we just roll dice to make sure A, I don't oppose any positive or negative modifiers, and B, you don't want to spend luck. So I'm assuming you don't want to spend luck on this.
Luck is for the ill-prepared.
So your 18 is more than good enough. As far as I know of, unless 3 of the dice roll 6s, there's no other advantage to rolling super high. So for what it's worth. And you total all the dice together, which Roll20 is doing for us. So with an 18, you can tell that this guy is absolutely telling the truth. He is not lying. Every bit of what he has told you is absolutely factual. At least he believes it to be so. You are aware.
I will use my telepathic ability to convey that to Kirby.
Okay, and that's something you can do for free.
Yes.
Yes. So Kirby, you get a little. Is it words or is it an image or do you actually speak in his mind?
I just speak into his mind. He is telling the truth.
Okay. And Kirby, you're probably used to this kind of thing.
Or I say he believes he is telling the truth.
So I'm going to smile at Onawa and say, this sounds a little easy. Why are other people not taking this job? What are you not telling us?
He smiles and he kind of sits back and he says, may I? And he reaches to his vambrace, which has a tactical computer on it, and says, can I send you something? He goes, I don't want to say it out loud. There are ways to get around the mushroom.
Yeah, sure. Send it.
Right.
Send it.
So
I'm assuming I've got some kind of a burner phone, being a smuggler.
Yeah, I would say you would have that. And it's not so much a burner phone. It's basically, long gone are SIM chips. Now it's just basically a code, some sort of, virtual software that provides a, virtual cell phone, so to speak. And you throw them away like, basically by hitting delete. And then, you probably have a cache of a couple, at least we'll say 3 for argument's sake. So you're using one of your 3. And you can even make a note on your character sheet that you have 3. Say again, someone was super echoey. Did I lose?
I'm here.
Oh.
Whoever it was didn't want to be heard.
Ah, okay.
So me, I was muted.
Yeah. So basically, across your comms device comes a picture of a vaguely Arabic-looking human, very swarthy in complexion, kind of heavy set. And he says, "This is Armand Dubois."
Do I recognize Armand Dubois?
No. Well, I don't. Do you have any kind of skills for like underworld or current events? I don't think.
Negotiation, diplomacy.
I will give you diplomacy. with a -1 die penalty. Now, are you keeping an open channel to the rest of your party so they can hear what's going on? I'm assuming yes.
Yes.
Okay, so anybody else who has a skill that they feel is appropriate may also roll it. But if it's a generalized or kind of off the cuff skill, it'll be at a -1 penalty.
Okay, I should point out that I don't technically have a skill per se. However, as a orphan, I am very familiar with urban backgrounds. Within 1 hour period in a new city, I can name local crime figures.
Yes,
Is that
so
wrong?
you know, you don't even have to roll. You have definitely heard of Armand Dubois.
So this is Mace. So I would same thing here. Mace has got the orphan background. And plus, I was going to say I've got thievery. I'm assuming I could use that if I needed to.
Yes, sir. You would just use it with your intellect or smarts or whatever it's called in this game. Sorry, I have too many games in my head. What is it? It's intellect or
Intuition.
well, intuition is no. There's one for intelligence, isn't there?
Logic, I think. Is what
Logic.
you're saying.
Yes, you would use it with logic. So, and for you, that would be not at a penalty. So, anybody got above a 12?
Okay, so let's see here.
Timmy's the only one that rolled. He rolled a 9.
And I wasn't going to use any luck on that.
Right. I'm assuming at this point, I mean, it'll take us a little while to get into it, but for the most part, if you're going to use luck, you would have put it in.
Right.
Ooh, look at that. Nice roll. So, Mace, you definitely have heard of Armand Dubois. He is the local crime lord, and his son, Arctos, has been kidnapped.
I repeat, I kind of sub-vocalize that.
Right.
We've got
Yeah, you've got an open channel, and I believe one of the psionics abilities is he can probably send, because you're all considered friends. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, can't you? You can push that in. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep. You
So-
can all communicate through me at any time,
Right.
from any distance.
From any distance. Nice. So you don't even need the communication devices. He just now you have to be conscious for that ability to work.
I have to say I believe I don't have any psionics whatsoever. So would I be omitted from this mind network?
You have the human brain though, don't you?
No, I was uploaded.
Oh, you were uploaded. So you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So it's a computer
Yeah,
with the
you would
human
be
essence in it.
excluded.
Yeah, you would probably need the enhance. You wouldn't be able to hear his thoughts because you don't have an organic brain. And you're right. You're excluded from all. You can't even have any kind of psionics. Correct? If I remember correctly.
That is correct. I am, for all intents and purposes, I'm full on Android, just not, just wasn't born as one.
Right. Yeah. He also sends you the information of the Skags. And those of you that made your rolls earlier, you all know the Skags are a local crime gang. I don't want to say they're a direct competitor to Armand Dubois. And Armand Dubois is kind of one of those guys that, he started out probably breaking legs in a back alley, but over the last 40 years has created an empire here on Sigma Alpha 6. And he runs a good 65% of all crime. He has his fingers in a lot of different things. That being said, he's also the guy that makes huge donations to like the orphanage, to the police department, to the workers' unions. When there's any kind of plague or anything, he's first in line to assist. But make no bones about it, he's a bad guy. He's not doing this stuff out of the goodness of his heart. He does it most likely, judging from what you guys have read about him and heard about him, and he does it to protect himself. It's one of those ways, you can be a despot, but if you give out presents at Christmas time, people seem to think a little bit more of you. You know what I mean?
So he's the devil they know.
He's the devil they know. And the Federation is the devil they don't know, because the Federation's power is very limited out here. And every once in a while, the Federation does decide to flex its muscles, and they'll send a frigate or a battle cruiser out here, and they'll levy some taxes and, and stuff like that. And, Du Bois is usually the one who gets them to go away, probably after a very healthy bribe. But, if it's prostitution, if it's drugs, if it's gun running, he's probably got his fingers in it. At some point, he's getting a cut of it. But his son, who was going to the school, if you go back to if we look at the main page, oops, let me go back here. I have to remember that I have to drag your guys' little player icon, or you can't see it. Probably somewhere over in this section over here, if you see the ping on the map, that's probably where the school is that his son goes to. And remember, you guys are way past these mountains back here. So you're basically almost a continent away. So this guy's got money, he's got power, he's got influence. He's also probably the guy that if you take care of him, he's going to take care of you. That may come with some strings attached, or it may not. You don't know. The fact that he's got the local cop doing his work should tell you something.
Okay. Background and profile of the Vic. Background and profile of the known gang or perps or suspected perps. Also, if the kidnapped victim has a safe word or a safe code sequence, so we can actually identify ourselves as working on his or his father's behalf. So he'll know he'll know that we're legit when we see him. That's what Kyle sends back.
Right. And he does send you like a little dossier of basically saying, yes, the code word is Papa. If you tell him Papa sent me, he will know that you're trustworthy. The boy is about 12, maybe 13 years old, and is not augmented except for a VR trode like just about everybody has. And his is, of course, probably one of the better ones. You don't even see it. It's similar to the cops. They show you a picture of Arctos, and it's just a tiny little silverish disc on his temple. Same kind of thing. Although Ottawa's is a little bit bigger. It looks like a bump, where his is flat. Obviously, it's just indicative of it's a better device is really all it is. But the Skags are local scum. They're into drugs. That's their main forte. They've never been into kidnapping, so this is something new. And basically, you probably can chalk it up to a power play. They figure, if they take Arctos's boy, they can get something that they want. And Arctos is more than prepared to give them whatever they want. He's also, let's just say if he had a nuclear device, he would nuke them from orbit and forget about them once he gets his kid back. But he can't do that because they have his kid, and he doesn't know exactly where they have his kid. You do know, looking at the dossier, that the Skags operate in this part of town, basically the lower end. They have a couple safe houses, and some of the prostitution, the lower rent areas, they kind of control, and this is one of those areas. So I mean, you can find Armand's businesses, but he's streaming more away from like drugs and prostitution and more into arms dealing and gun running and protection, and like a large portion of his business is legit, for lack of a better word. So, but he's just caught in that spot where he doesn't want to call in the Federation, and they're probably not going to come out here even for him. But it's like killing an ant with a 500-ton bomb. It's just overkill. So the Federation's not going to get involved, and he probably doesn't want them involved. So Anawa has given you this information. He looks at you and says, "You have a team." You see 5,000 credits gets transferred into your account. Your little, in your head, your little bank account goes boop, deposit made. That's operating expenses. That's in lieu of the 30,000 if you bring us back the head of the Skags. We don't know who the head of the Skags is. That's up to you to find out. They change leadership quite often. It's usually whoever the meanest and the toughest is, or the smartest, and we can't find their safe house. So it's going to be good old fashioned footwork, and the clock is ticking if you accept this job, which by giving you 5,000 credits, you've already accepted it. So thank you. He gets up, turns around, he says, "You know how to contact me," and he leaves, unless someone stops him verbally.
No, but I'll watch him. Mace watches him all the way out the door and down the street or to whatever car it is. Mace makes sure he leaves.
He walks out the door, and literally right in front of that door, you see, if you're on the same screen with the spaceships, that police car right there. Now, it's dirty. It's got some graffiti on it. There is an armed robot, a sentry robot. And basically, if you've seen Chappie, the movie Chappie, it's basically one of those robots, but it's heavily armored, and it's got a riot gun, a shotgun, basically, with an over and under, and it's right there in the driver's. Well, it's standing outside with the back door open and the driver's door open, and it's got the shotgun out and ready, and people are giving him a very wide berth. And Lieutenant Onawa steps into the back of the police car, and the robot gets in the front seat, and the wheels kind of tuck in at an angle, and it goes straight up, and then it takes off.
Okay. So, how long have we been on the planet?
I kind of leave that up to you guys. Some of you ETS'd here. Some of you may have gotten here. You guys have been together long enough to know each other and kind of know your capabilities. So maybe 2-3 months.
All right. So with that said, given the fact that Mace works within this realm, especially because when you brought up arms dealing and gun running and stuff like that, I thought about it. Has W.O.I.N done business with Mace know, or have we heard of W.O.I.N doing business with the Skags before? Because games need weapons. Or is there another player that's out there in the market? I mean, so
it's pretty logical to assume that Dubois has done business with the Skags, but it would have probably been through a third party or even a fourth party intermediary. He's not, let's get this straight. He's a guy who wears a very nice business suit, rides in a limousine. He doesn't get dirty. Nothing can be traced back to him directly. But, his organization is very far reaching. He has a lot. I mean, when I say a lot of money, I mean astronomical amounts of money. So the Skags have money as well, but nowhere near on the level that Dubois has. And the Skags are more your thugs, your local crack dealer. They just happen to get lucky. You guys are going to have to do some investigation and try to figure out how and why the Skags were able to get Arctos. And we'll leave that up to the course of role playing and everything. I don't want this to be we kick in the door and we shoot everybody. I want you guys to do a little investigation. I want you to use your skills, use your brains and, role play this out a little bit. And, let's make it kind of an interesting story, right? I mean, that's kind of why we're all here. So.
Right. I understand that. The reason I was asking those questions, though, is that where Mace's head was going is, okay, so if the Skags have got the kid, maybe the way to do this is to start talking with the Skags. So what is something the Skags need? The Skags need weapons? Well, okay, maybe we sell them weapons. Maybe we get inside the Skags organization. I mean, there's all kinds of ways.
Oh, yeah, and that's totally – and that's great thinking. That's very logical. And the Skags are the scum of the earth. I mean, when you picture, you look at the movies where you see the drug house with everybody sprawled out on the floor with needles in their arms, half of those guys are the Skags. The other half are selling the drugs to the other half that's not part of the Skag. You know what I mean? They are the dirtbag, the bottom feeders.
I want to ask this question about where was this attitude 15 minutes ago when this wet work job was too shady for us, and you want to sit in bed with the scum of the earth for the job.
Are you posing this question to me, to Mace? Because I can tell you where the attitude was. The attitude was I didn't want to be sitting there when a cop came in case he was crooked and he tried to shaft us. Because I don't know about you, but I spit you over. That's where the attitude was. Maybe it's a little bit of age and a little bit of wisdom.
Very well said.
Well, I think it's curious how the dregs of society would have an opportunity to kidnap this kid.
Well, and again, that's going to require some investigation to figure out how and why that came about. Yeah, you know the old saying, "Trouble in paradise."
Who's if that's the case, then they were probably financed by someone else.
Again,
Right.
that's up to you guys to try and figure out and see where it leads you, if it leads you anywhere. It may not. This may have been a simple, the leader of the Skags saw an opportunity and jumped. It could be a third party saying, fuck Armand, he's an asshole and I should be in power. It could be this cop is putting the Skags up to it, and by getting an able-bodied group, it makes him look good, and now he's in better with Armand. Who knows? There could be, what the motivations and the options are. We don't know. We're going to play to find that out, and that's where you guys come into play with your various skills and abilities.
We'll pull the file. Where was the kid taken? Was he taken from school?
He was snatched in the middle at the end of the day at 3:15 p.m. It is summertime right now, and they use the same calendar and schedule that we use. The days are a little bit longer out here because you're further from the sun. The days are 36 hours. So he was picked up at 3:30 in the afternoon from a private school in the very wealthy part of town. What little bit of news footage is seen, because when you start reading, the police report is in there. He's given you access to that. And the police report does say that some sort of device was used, almost akin to like an EMP device. And all of the local cameras and video feeds, even people's personal VR trodes, which do allow you to record, all went static for a good 5 minutes, which in the realm of counterintelligence and technology is forever. But it was long enough for this kid to be snatched from in front of the school as he was leaving. His two bodyguards that were sent to pick him up and the chauffeur, which is a drone, the drone was destroyed and the two guards were shot in the head with high velocity rounds. If anybody has any kind of military skill or any kind of exploit that would help them, I will give you a intellect roll or smarts, whatever. I can never remember the name of the damn intelligence skill. Logic. Any of the characters that have like a strong background or military background or anything like that could make a logic roll. Because you also have the coroner's report. It's the whole police report from beginning to end.
I don't think I fired a gun ever in my career as a naval officer.
Right.
I have. This is selling.
And remember, you can use luck on this. And if you want to use luck, you go on your character sheet and you just click how many dice you're using, and then you add that many dice to the modifier.
Well, I may, since I have a law enforcement background, I may just do it the old-fashioned way, beat feet, and actually check out the scene. I can make a law. Is it a law roll in the area, or is it something else?
You would use logic plus, your law. Is anybody going to go with you, or are you going to go by yourself?
If anyone wants to go with me, I could just. It doesn't hurt having another set of eyeballs to come with it. And I'll just, what the hell? See, I got how much luck? I got 3 dice of luck. I'll burn 2 of it for this.
Okay.
So I'm going to say law, and I'm going to burn in a couple extra, which will get me over the cap, I think. We're very close to it. And then, so that's not very good. What is that?
17 total. If the
17.
dice. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, let's backtrack a minute. Does anybody decide to go with him?
Yeah, this is Mace. Mace will go with it.
All right. So go ahead, Kyle, and roll an extra d6 for having another pair of eyes, and we'll just roll a single d6. You can just, you know how to do dice rolls in Roll20? There you go. So you got a 20 total.
That'd be 20.
Yeah. So judging from, you're looking at the police reports, you're looking at the pictures that were taken, and you go down the spot. Of course, the blood smear and everything is gone because this is the very nice part of town, and that stuff isn't allowed to stand. This, by the way, this happened 2.5 days ago. So it is Friday evening. This happened Wednesday morning. So going on 3 days now. So to say the least, people are giving you. Nobody has a vehicle, correct?
I don't think 60 credits buys a vehicle.
Yeah. So
it's called sneakers. That's what it buys.
Travel by foot.
Yeah, exactly.
My car is called Nike.
Yeah.
So you managed to pull together, get a cab, and then transfer. Of course, when you get to this part of town, there's no local transportation. A lot of the cabs aren't in this area. These people, tend to rent limousines and/or have transportation of their own. So the cab will take you here, but the fee goes up. Is everybody going with him and Mace, or is it just those two?
I want to go with.
I was gonna say let's keep it at 2 or 3. We don't want to look like a unruly mob because we're not really appropriate for this area. We'll definitely stick out.
Those that are staying at the Oblivion, is there anything you guys are doing?
You guys could try attack at a different angle. Is what I'd suggest.
I'm sorry. Which one? Who's the chimpanzee again?
Oh, that's me, Scan.
Okay, I will take Skander wherever he wants to go.
So we have Mace going with one group, then Kirby probably ought to go in the other group. Not that I don't like Mace, but we're just kind of splitting up some of the gunslingers.
Right. So I'll throw out a caveat just because this is a new system. Sounds like the Brainiac part of the group, Scandal and I'm sorry, I don't have all the character names down yet.
You can just go with that man.
Robot, yeah, Scandal and Asher, and then whoever else is sticking with them. Kirby? Okay, you guys could probably analyze the police report and all the news feeds from the area and maybe glean a little information that way. And basically what that would equate to is whoever has the best logic and computer skills should make a roll, and then everyone who decides to help in that by crunching data could add a d6 to that. So that would be one roll, and then everyone at the scene of the incident could make a logic plus law enforcement roll, and everybody who's helping could add a d6 to that as well. Does that make sense?
Quick question for Billman, you're with myself and Kyle, right?
That's right. I'm going. Well, if you guys will pay my cab fare because I have 0 credits, but
Sure.
I'm happy to go with you.
Yeah, we'll cover that. So you're the one that's got you're psychic down, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right. So when we get to the scene, Mace, right. I just look at you. Is there some of your psychic?
Oh, somebody cut out.
Is there anything you can do that you can sense? Mace doesn't know much about psychic,
I will not. I don't have any of the abilities to do things like, pick up an object and sense something about it or something like that. I can read minds and communicate, and I can move things around, but that's about it right now.
Okay.
So at this point, you're just another set of eyes.
Right, but I can also melt someone's face.
Well, I don't think we quite need that just yet, but good to know. Good to know. All right, so let's go with the cop team first. Who wants to give me the logic plus law?
It'll probably be Kyle, right?
That's what I'm
Guys,
thinking.
You want me to roll another one?
Yeah, because you're going to get the benefits of the two players, and if the 20 is better than what you roll, we'll stick with that. But I want everybody to get used to the die mechanic and how it works.
Fair enough. I'll do the same roll again. Just a moment. And so
now you're adding a 1d6 for the other two players because they're helping you look around, and you guys are looking for anything weird.
Okay, so I burn 2 points of luck. They're helping me for another die, so that's 3 dice extra.
Can I throw some luck towards him? I forget.
No, you can't. You can't use luck on someone else's behalf unless you have an exploit that allows you to do it. And there is, I think, one or two. One is like commanding or commander or something like that, leader of people. It's an exploit that allows you to spend luck on behalf of that.
By the way, I roll craptastic usually, just so you guys know.
I see that, man. You're lucky there's no trip 1 negative, right?
Well, you'll see a lot of those from me. So
All right.
no, the 20 was better.
Yeah, so the 20 was definitely better. Yeah, so you putting all the police scene stuff together, it all jives with the report, but getting a 20 is pretty damn good, to be honest. And you realize that judging by, looking at the entry wound and the exit wound, there was a sniper probably about a mile away using some sort of suppressed weapon. The sad part is no bullets, as you're reading this report, no bullets were collected from the scene, and no bullets were found inside the victims' heads.
Great. So old-fashioned way ain't gonna work.
But you definitely, your gut feeling says this was a sniper that took out these two guys. Which means the robot, the android driver, looks like he was affected by the EMP. It just basically shut him down. He was not shielded, which that's just poor thinking on the android's part, but it happens.
Just to be clear, were they both affected by the same sniper shot?
Well, it was two different shots coming from roughly the same angle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, but no, I mean, that would be an amazing sniper, right? Deadpool, he is not, or she is not, because you don't know. Yes, Kirby, Arctos' bodyguard.
To the dead, which I can do, but if they were taken out from a mile away, they didn't see anything.
Right.
So, other than one would have probably saw his buddy just get his head turned into an overripe melon that got tossed off a roof. Okay, yeah, I'm at a dead end for now. So let's let some of the other guys follow their avenue, see what they can get.
All right. So then going back to the Oblivion Hotel/restaurant, it's a high class place,
Do we know, just real quick, do we notice when we're walking away, one of the things that Mace is looking for is anybody, obviously we're a little out of place, but anybody that's really taking any, either when we got there or
yeah, because it would have taken you a little bit of time to, go over that. Well, it's going to be obviously, I would say, intuition, and do you have a skill like streetwise or anything?
Let's see here.
And just guys, so you know, when I ask for a skill roll, the skills are pretty open-ended. So if you have a skill that you think justifies rolling to whatever attribute I say, please feel free to use that, because I don't know all of the skills that your characters have unless I sit there and go through each character sheet, which...
Right. He's got stealth, right? So, I mean, if somebody's trying to keep an eye on him and trying to stay hidden, I would say that he would probably pick up on that.
Okay, so that would be like, so go ahead and give me a roll. Are you spending any luck?
Why the hell not? Because I have a luck of 8. So,
Jesus.
So let's do that.
I'm going to tell you that the DC is going to be pretty high.
All right, so we'll spend 2 luck then.
Okay.
There you go. All right. So it should be right. Let's see here.
Ooh, almost 3 6s. So a 21. Excellent. You don't. You definitely are out of place. Your guys' clothing is not the best. It's not like you're, raggedy and dirty and everything, but you're not well dressed for this area. And you do get some looks. You see some, different types of like corporate bodyguards and or corporate police in the different business areas and androids looking at you kind of like, you don't belong here kind of look. But as far as like anybody trying to, if I understand you correctly, you're wanting to see if anybody's trying to look at you while not trying to be obvious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't necessarily. Yeah. You don't. Aside from the obvious of what obviously you guys are sticking out like a sore thumb, so people are looking at you, but you don't think you spot any one individual or several that are like keeping tabs on you. People are kind of like people will walk by you and like the women will clutch their purse a little closer to them or change it from the left side to the right side away from you, that kind of thing. The guys will, some of the guys will puff out their chest as they walk by you, that animalistic nature that says I'm tougher than you, and while some of the other guys will slink away because they just realize, okay, that's an alpha male, I am not, I'm going to get the hell out of Dodge. But nothing that really, makes your alarms go off, so to speak.
Okay, because again, when you look at that, and then like, if there's anybody that's just really because if somebody saw something, happened to be there in that same, and just happens they're always in that area, and they're just staring, very intently or something like that, it might be worth going over and having a conversation with them.
Yeah, there's no like hookers, there's no like open street vendors. This is very much like, your nice part of town, like the Beverly Hills. It's very posh. The streets are clean. There's not a whole lot of like advertisements coming at you through your VR. Everything is very subdued and very classy.
Right.
Yeah, so you guys will stay there. That's taking you, maybe an hour, hour and a half, plus another 40-minute travel time. So you guys have been gone for a little while. Unless there's something else you guys want to do, we're going to slide back to the Oblivion.
Okay, I did want to mention, this is out of character. I didn't want to, this is not about me, I want to make it about the group. I know there's another person with the orphan background, and because you have Urchin, you would know some of the higher ups in the underworld, and that would include possibly some of the higher ups in the Skagan. You can say like, hey, I know those guys, and I would know who's usually in charge of a snatch and grab kind of thing. So you might want to run it by, basically just reach out with your contacts, or just say, hey, I know this guy. He hangs out at bar X, and see what you get with that. That's not going to be where we're at right now, because I'm in the nicer part of town. But you guys are in Hotel Oblivion. It's probably just across the street. Heck, they might even be next door. So,
well, there are some SCAG members in the bar where you are right now, because remember, this is their part of town. They kind of run the stuff here. So, all right. So moving over to Oblivion, to the hotel/restaurant, where the roach cake has very few roaches in it. You say again?
Such
So what are you guys doing? That would be Scandal.
Yeah, are we getting some? So the cop, is he telling the crime boss that we're working on this? Please don't shoot us if we need to come and get the property or something to investigate.
You don't know because nobody asked him that.
I think it'd be best for you to know and just do it that way. I think somebody else is financing this whole operation. Skag seemed kind of unnecessary. How the hell did they get the camera down for 5 minutes?
I mean, using a little bit of your brain power and saying what you just said, it would seem pretty odd that they would have access to some sort of EMP on that scale. But then again, they do have their fingers into a lot of the lower end warehouses and stuff like that. Whoever the one that had the urchin background would probably know some of that. So,
Let's start looking into the backgrounds on the crime boss's lieutenants and see which one of them might have a grudge against him.
Okay, and how are you going to do that?
I'm going to call his secretary and ask which one of these lieutenants have a grudge against him.
Yeah.
I want to advise against that.
I was going to say, you might get a visit that you're not expecting, if you know what I mean. Usually in the form of a high caliber round to the back of the head.
Hey, this is why I work on engines.
Let's specify. Let's not do any investigation that may upset anyone with the gun. Do you have a gun?
That is pretty much everyone on this planet.
I stand by my statement.
I stand by my statement. Nice. Okay, so in the Oblivion, what are you guys? Are you sitting in the booth with the mushroom on? Are you going over computer records? What are you guys trying to do?
I'm pulling up data on every competitor, every major player that may have a grudge against
your employer.
Reports of military arms shipments being stolen.
Ooh.
That don't relate to this crime boss.
Ooh, that's excellent. This is very smart thinking. As a matter of fact, yes. There was a shipment stolen about 3 weeks ago.
Just so happens to contain EMP grenades.
You're going to have to do some hard digging to get a manifest because that information is not public. So,
Sure.
But yes, it is public news that a shipment was stolen, was hijacked in low orbit before it got to the planet by pirates, which is very common out here. Because again, the Federation doesn't patrol out here. So if you're sending goods this far out, you usually send a couple of frigates with it to make sure that it gets, or you hire security to make sure you don't get taken over or anything like that. So pirated. And in this case, the ship had you're going to have to do some digging, and then you'll get more information. How do you wish to go about doing that? I mean, you can find the news article, but it doesn't say a whole lot. It just says that, there was a frigate or a cargo ship was hijacked on its way to Sigma Alpha 6 about 3.5 weeks ago. And it goes into some basic details. Say again?
Call the port authority clerk.
Okay.
And we inform them that we work for the insurance company that's been asked to pay out for the stolen cargo shipment, and we just need a copy of the manifest to validate that what they reported as stolen is in fact what was reported to the port authority as being shipped.
You may want, but then they will have to conduct another investigation on the insurance company. Otherwise, they'll just ask what company you're from. What will you tell them?
Bob's Piper Fast Cargo Reimbursement Insurance Agency.
You can, if you're really good at computers, you can create a dummy company just like that, at least long enough to hold up.
They need to. No. We can't be any company. We need to be their insurance company.
I would say a basic computer check.
We can fast talk our way through this.
Yeah, whoever's going to do that I would allow you to burn a luck point for the day and say that you're able to find that information. That should be relatively common knowledge. So you could say you're from, Omega Insurance Brokers, which is the holding company that covers the insurance for the ship, the cargo ship that was absconded, hijacked, and you need a manifest. The problem lies in, I'm going to need a charisma plus fast talk, lying, whatever skill you have that would work to talk this bureaucratic person over the phone into giving you that information on just your word.
Let me do that. This is my area.
Are you sure? Because I've got no skill in it at all. So I think I'd be right on What could go wrong?
You have another major corporation after you? All right, so
see them once again, they'll just go, oh, try and call them.
so who's gonna make the phone call? Scandal or the other person? Kirby's gonna do it?
Kirby will do it.
All right, so Kirby, what's your dice pool looking like?
I have 3 dice from charisma and 1 dice from negotiation.
So you're looking at a 4d6. Are you going to add any luck?
My idea.
Yeah, I'll add some luck to it.
Scandal's like, it was my idea.
Yeah, he gets a die from my idea. I love it. That's great. I agree with you.
You know what? I'll give it to you. But you're capped out at 5d6 unless you're spending luck.
Unless I use a couple of points of luck, which I would.
And everybody knows how to keep track. Before we go on to that, everybody knows how to keep track of their luck.
The little dots by the right of the luck pool.
Exactly.
So I'm adding 3 dice to this.
Is that how many luck you're?
2 from my luck and 1 from Scandal.
Right.
So I should be rolling 7 dice here.
So yeah, so the 1 from Scandal puts you at 5, and then you're spending 2 from your luck pool gives you 7. So yes, 76. You want to roll really high.
Does a 29 count?
29 does count. So the phone rings and you hear, "Hello, Abernathy and Abernathy. This is Miss Abernathy. How can I help you?"
Hi, Miss Abernathy. This is Jake from State Farm.
Hi, Jake. What are you wearing?
Why does everyone keep asking me what I'm wearing? Khakis?
Oh, sweet. I love khakis. My husband wears khakis, and he looks amazing. I hope you look good in khakis. What can I do for you today, Mr. Jake?
Well, Miss Abernathy, I would love for you to help. You see, I am investigating a loss. State Farm is the underwriters on this loss. There was some ship that was attacked by pirates in low orbit, I think, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I'll give her the name of the ship.
Okay. You hear some clicking on what sounds like a data pad. She goes, "Oh, yes, I remember that. Piloted by Captain Bertrock. He's since been let go. What a shame. He was a nice guy. Lovely family."
He might have had a nice family and everything, but he got captured by pirates, so he kind of violated some of the terms of his employment. But that's neither here nor there. We represent the cargo owners, which had not yet passed title to the recipients of the cargo. So there's been a claim made, and we need to verify the contents of the cargo so that we may pay the claim.
Oh my! Oh, I totally understand. And what do you need from me? What can I assist you with?
Well, we'll need bills of ladings and manifest. We'll need to know not only the shipper to verify that our client actually did claim ownership of the cargo, but also we'll need to know the recipient for in case there's no double claim.
Oh, excellent. Well, I can provide that through. Can I send it to this number? And she's obviously whatever. I'm assuming you're using one of your phones.
Yeah, I'm using one of my partners.
Okay. She says, "Yes, I will." And I assume you have taken the time to create a fake Jake at State Farm ID on the phone. Yes, of course you would have. She says, "Excellent. I will get that to you by the end of business today. Is that acceptable?"
That is very acceptable. Thank you very much, Miss Abernathy. You've been very helpful.
Oh, well, here at Abernathy and Abernathy, we strive on being the most Abernathy that we can be. So again, I thank you, and I'm so sorry to hear about Bertrack. That is a shame. I did not know that he was lost to the pirates. I'm sure his wife is devastated. We'll send flowers. Thank you. Click, and she hangs up. And literally, you get a basic form letter that says, "Your request for information has been filed. We will get back to you within 3 to 6 standard business days."
I see.
She lied.
She lied to us.
No, you're going to get the information. That's just give me a logic roll.
That's maybe their standard form
Exactly.
response.
Yeah, it is literally just, anytime you do any kind of corporate correspondence, it is the generic form letter that goes out the moment they hang up. So you're obviously your request has been filed and they will get it to you. Will it take 3 to 6 business days? Probably not, but you should be prepared to wait.
Well, good.
Yeah, I hope you'll note that not only did we want the name of the shipper, but also the name of the recipient.
Okay, so what I'm going to ask you is to, on the Roll20 front page, where you can leave messages and stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
When you first go to roll20.net, you click on My Game,
Oh, yeah.
the message
Yeah,
board.
okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a message board there. Just go ahead and put your character's name and what you're asking for. And then what I will do is I will reply with all the necessary information.
As a new topic?
Yes, you can do it as a new time. And you guys feel free to use that for in character. If it's information that you're parting out of character, just preface it with OOC so that we know it's out of character and it's not something that is canon for the game. I want you guys to have a say in the world as well. So if, business names or weird things, anything you want to interject into the world, feel free to throw it in there. Also, if you haven't done a background on your character sheet, please get that on there as soon as you can. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I think we're playing every other week, so we all have plenty of time to update stuff and do it. I will be posting some more information to World Anvil as time goes on. Unfortunately, I've had a shitty 2 weeks because work for me is crazy. But that's no excuse, and I'm going to endeavor to get some more information up there. But it's just after 9. And I'm fading fast, and I am old, and I have to get up very early in the morning. So,
Yeah, it's definitely old.
and thanks, Scandal. I appreciate coming from you.
You don't remember that next time the damage dice come out.
Thank you. You just got a 1d6 bonus to your soak. Scandal, you've got a minus 1d6 to your soak. But you should expect that, nothing less. But
Yeah, Mr. Mean for nothing.
exactly. But as far as it goes tonight, how was that? How was the pacing for everybody? How was the information? Is everybody cool with it? How it's going? Do you have any questions or concerns?
I do have one request I'd like to make, and I don't. You just said to put our bios in, so that it may not work with that. But like a list with maybe like a single list of everyone's image, character name, and like role, I think would help us get used to like a cheat sheet for who everyone is.
Yeah.
Maybe we should put that in the forums also. Post our bios to the forum because the bio's on the character sheet, and I can't see anybody else's character.
Right. So yeah, whatever you want the other players to know, that's exactly what the front facing page of the Roll20 site is for our game. So feel free to post your images and everything of your characters in there, and then I can add stuff to the game as it goes. But you guys all have rights to post in there, and I'm pretty sure you can add an image. If you can't, you could probably add a URL to the image or something to that effect. Or even feel free to use the Discord. If everybody wants, I can set up a Discord channel for just our game, and only we will have access to it, if that works for everybody. If that's the way you would rather go.
Discord would make us search through it unless we didn't post it there. Maybe that front page is probably a good place for it.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if it'll let you post images, though. That's the only concern.
You can insert images in there.
You can? Okay, good. Thank you. I'm going to tell you right now, I dug it. I thought everybody's involvement was good. Nobody felt like they were just hanging on and listening. It felt like everybody was engaged. I do appreciate that. I think part of that is having a little bit older group. We all understand. Nobody over-talked anybody, which was very much appreciated. And so I do appreciate that. Everybody showed very good common sense as far as etiquette and everything. So thank you very much to all of you. And I think you all have really neat and interesting characters. So I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing how it progresses. And I know I kind of threw you the, here's the bait, you have to bite. But it's kind of hard to set up an adventure when we're all new to the system. We're all new to playing with each other. So that was kind of the easiest way. I could just throw us into the deep end of the pond and start swimming. So I hope that worked okay for everybody.
Yeah, as Mr. Mean says, there's no such thing as a bad RPG. That's just bad GMs.
What are you trying to say, Craig?
Huh? No, nothing.
That's another D6 damage dice coming your way.
Yeah, I'll say I did enjoy it. It's pretty good. I like the fact there was a little bit of investigating along, not just gun bunny back and forth. Although I'm sure that's coming. I did want to point out if I don't think we actually made anyone. It was actually like just out and out muscle. But if we did, if there are some folks who actually wanted to do that kind of as that avenue of approach, there were gang members right at that bar. You could have done that. Hey, I heard word in the street is your gang scored some pretty heavy duty gear, and I know a guy who knows a guy who might be willing to offer some pretty hefty credits for it. You know, who do I talk to? You know, that kind of. We could try that avenue too, if the traditional methods that we're doing also don't pan out. Just wanted to make that offer.
Yeah.
So Mike, I actually considered that, but
Yeah.
because my character had been seen with the cop, not just 30 minutes previous.
Yes.
That would be a bad idea.
Smart thinking,
The other
Mace.
guys who hadn't could have that offer. But
Yeah.
I don't think we didn't have a lot of toughs in the group, right? We're more like, I think more intellectuals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
More
think
techies.
Yeah, you got Kirby and Mace are probably your
Yeah. I don't think the monkey and the Roomba are gonna be like, intimidating any gangsters or anytime.
I don't know. That monkey starts swinging that big ass wrench. It could. I don't know what his strength is though.
Okay, or we could
but I can dodge like crazy.
Yeah.
just another idea, because you guys are good at setting up dummy backgrounds. You could do it. Say just do the whole we're looking for some goods, and we heard you guys might know some, and do it electronically. You know, yes.
Sorry,
Please
something I did want to mention, just in case we need it. I have due to my intelligence officer background, I do have access to a safe house. I don't know what kind of quality, but I think we can make a good assumption about that. But just in case we need it, we can bail out.
We can go dark. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. And you know what? If you who was that was speaking just now about the safe house?
Asher, robot.
Asher, Rumba. Asher, feel free to type up the specs of your safe house. You know, like if you just want to do a brief write-up, how many people can it hold? Does it have food for X amount of days? You know, that kind of thing. Does it have a security system? I don't know what the exploit gives you because I haven't read up on it, but feel free to, work it out. And if you want to bounce ideas off of me, I'm on Discord all day long. Because my iPad sits right next to my desk here at home. I'm working from home during this pandemic. And I don't know, July 1st, I think, is going to be the earliest that I go back into the office. So I have my iPad with me. I have Discord open all day long. So feel free to bounce ideas off me if you're on Discord.
Okay, I'm in the same boat, except I'm eternally work from home, regardless of.
Yeah, I work home more than I want to.
Does this city have like a warehouse and sewer district?
Most definitely. In fact, those of you that have been here for a while, or your character comes maybe from this area, there is an underground as well. But as little is known about it, and we will figure out more about it as we play.
Hey, I wanted to ask: Is there a list of what skills are associated with what attribute?
No, it is an open-ended skill system. So anything, basket weaving can be a skill. So it's up to you as the player to justify that, yes, I want to use my charisma plus basket weaving because I am selling this basket weaving and I want you to know that it is the best damn basket you've ever bought. So you're turning on.
Just update the attribute you're using.
Right. Yeah, you can always change it. And then don't forget on your character sheet in Roll20, I'll just pull over Craig's. If you scroll down to the bottom of the basic tab, the very first one, there is an add button right there. You can add more skills. You'll notice that on all of your character sheets, I added the initiative button because the character sheet doesn't have initiative. And initiative is basically just your intuition. It's a straight intuition roll. You can add luck to it if you so desire. So like in Craig's case, his intuition is a 2. So yeah, when I roll initiative, it should roll 2d6. Roll20 has the ability to keep track of our initiative and everything, but unfortunately, because it's not its own system within Roll20, I don't know how to link the character sheets to the initiative chart system. I'm trying to learn that. In Fantasy Grounds, it's all built in. And What's Old is New is a system in Fantasy Ground, but Fantasy Ground has a pretty steep learning curve. And I just don't feel like trying to point you guys all in all the right directions on how to move tokens. And
I can vouch for that.
yeah,
We were
I mean,
trying
it's
to
a
do
great,
it.
it's a great tool.
I need to go, but I want to say thanks again, guys, for hanging out, and Mr. Mean for running. I had a good time.
Yeah.
See you guys in a couple weeks. And if I have any other questions, I don't, guys burned out. I don't want to keep you up any longer. I'll just post it or send it on Discord.
Sounds like a plan, man.
Great time. Catch you later.
All right, take care, man.
Is this game normally going to run 7 to 9, or is it going to be different hours?
It will definitely start shortly after 7 because that's when I have to put my son to bed. And depending on how much content I have provided, 9 will be the earliest that we quit, but we may go to 10 if everything's rolling. And like say we're in the middle of a combat, I don't want to end the game, at hard 9 when we're in the middle of a combat, because then you got 2 weeks to go before you find out what happens, if that's okay with everybody.
Stunned supplements.
I know, right? I'm like, is that bad or is that good? I don't know what to do. I'm sorry.
For me, that's only 7 PT, so I can. It's no issue for me.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nope. I'm good with that.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Silence is yeah.
Mr. Me, I had a question. If you said you didn't like Fantasy Ground, have you ever tried Foundry?
I have never even heard of it. Send me a link.
I will. It's you do have to buy a license, but it's one time and only the GM needs to get it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, send me a link. I'll be more than happy to check it out.
I tried it. I loved it, but it didn't have the drop down feature for multiple characters that Roll20 has, but otherwise it's a lot better than Roll20.
Okay.
Well, that's not a high bar.
By the way, Scandal hates Roll20, so the fact that I was even able to get him to sign up and play is a miracle.
Yeah, it is.
That's a true friend right there. He's willing to put himself in pain to game with me.
Yeah.
Craig and I go way back. I mean, years. So
yeah. He still has not run Heavy Gear.
That's the game we met over, isn't it?
98, this guy's been promising to run Heavy Gear. No dice.
No dice. Hey, I am going to run Degenesis.
Hell yeah. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, so those of you that don't know, I do run a YouTube channel. And speaking of which, I'm going to sign off on the recording part, and then we can chat if we so desire. So everyone in YouTube land, thanks for watching. That was our first session. Welcome your comments and your critiques down below. Thanks to all the players. You guys did a great job. I'm looking forward to more in-depth gaming with you guys and learning more about your characters and learning more about Sigma Alpha 6 and what's going on with this poor kid that's been kidnapped. So as always, Mr. Mean says, be nice. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.